Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
How you doing, Al?
Oh, good, mate. We're edging towards the day that millions of people are looking forward to. So that's a positive issue to wake up to, I think.
Absolutely, Al. And thousands and thousands watched this game that we're going to be talking about on part 2 of Game of My Life, where we take a trip down memory lane and revisit an iconic moment or game through the eyes of the headline maker. And today we're joined by Alan Hudson, and Huddy, we're going to be focusing on Stoke City versus Liverpool, Easter Monday 1975, and Easter Monday was the 31st of March that year.
Yeah, as we've said before, there's something about me and Easter Monday, because the Easter Monday of 1970 was a life-changing match at West Brom, where I went down the hole and missed the FA Cup final, and Mexico of 70, which was the best World Cup of all time. So then 5 years to that exact same day, there I was, not going to play in the match through the injury that I got 5 years earlier, and got to the ground and found that the Stoke Fire Brigade had been in and walked the pitch for me. So that was quite an incredible moment, something that only one man could have done.
Absolutely, and that man was Tony Waddington. Just going to go briefly through the lineups that day, Alan. Stoke City managed by Tony Waddington. Liverpool, Bill Shankly had gone from the managerial role and passed on the baton to Bob Paisley. Stoke City ran out 2-1 winners. The half-time score was 1-0, and 45,954 fans watched the game inside the Victoria Ground. Stoke's lineup...
Was it 2-1 or 2-0?
2-0. It was 1-0 at half-time, Al, and both goals scored by Terry Conroy, one from the penalty spot. The lineups that day were in goal for... Do you want to give me what you thought the lineup was that day for Stoke City through your memory?
That's a very good question. Well, we had just played on the Friday and the Saturday in London against West Ham and Arsenal. We drew both games, which might have cost us the league in the end.
Yeah. And
should have won them. And on the train coming home, I didn't think I'd be playing. So I've got a very good idea, because the difficult part of this question you've asked is Terry Conroy playing, because I spoke to Terry yesterday, funnily enough, and he was apart from Gordon Banks losing his eye the year before, which would have really clinched the league for us. We missed Terry Conroy playing for us week in, week out, and our goal ratio would have won us the league. He was fantastic when he came in. So Terry obviously played up front with Jimmy Greenough that day.
Yep.
I can only think that we had Jeff Salmons, who never missed a match, on the left.
Yep, absolutely.
And it was always out of Sean Hazelgrave or Jimmy Robertson on the right. I would say Sean played that day.
Sean was sub. Jeff Hurst played that day.
Well, so Jeff played up front with... so Terry Conroy started on the right then.
Yep, so you got Terry, Jimmy, Jeff Hurst, yourself, and Jeff Salmons as five really attack-minded players. Midfield.
Well, the rest really picks itself. It's when you say five attacking players, it's there was me and Mahoney.
Yep, he played. Yep, Josh.
Mahoney played. Josh played number 4. I played number 10.
Yep.
Right back, obviously, was Jackie Marsh.
Yes, it was.
And the two centre halves, I can only think, would have been Dennis Smith and Alan Dodd.
Alan Dodd played. Dennis Smith broke his leg against Ipswich on the 18th of March, which was the fourth broken leg that season. So Dennis didn't play. Eric Skills played instead.
Eric Skills is one of those players that nobody ever mentions. He marked me at Stamford Bridge in my first match when I must have made an impression on Tony, and he man-marked me. That was what he was. That was his forte, and we after that, when I moved to Stoke, we became very close friends. And yeah, so Eric was about 5'7".
Yep.
And he played double centre half with Doddy that day. Alan Bloor was obviously out.
Yeah, he was. He only played 2 games that season because he picked up an injury early doors.
Well, it really makes our performance even the more fantastic, really, because Eric plays about 3 games a year.
Yeah.
And when he comes in, he plays fantastic. He never put a foot wrong. And obviously, my best friend was left back Mickey Pejic.
Yeah, and Mickey Pejic broke his leg against Wolverhampton Wanderers in a 2-2 draw. That game was played on the 15th of February. So you had that season. John Ritchie broke his leg early doors against Ipswich away. Jimmy broke his nose, didn't he?
Jimmy broke his nose at Birmingham over the Christmas.
Absolutely. And Jimmy Robertson broke his leg at Coventry away. And as I say, Dennis broke his leg. The left back was Ian Bowers.
There you go. That makes it even more incredible when you think they got the likes of Keegan.
Yeah, and Shilton played in goal. Now, I'm briefly going to run through the Liverpool team.
Paul, we didn't really need a goalkeeper that day.
No, I don't think you did. In goal for Liverpool was Clements. There was Tommy Smith, Phil Neal, Phil Thompson, Peter Cormack, Emlyn Hughes, Kevin Keegan, Brian Hall, Steve Highway, Ray Kennedy, and Terry McDermott. That was the Liverpool team. And as you said, oh, great team. But as you said, Al, you were struggling because of the injury previously. Tony watered the pitch. What happened that day when you got to the Victoria ground? Because you didn't think that you were playing and you told Tony that you wasn't fit enough to play.
I told Tony on the train coming back from London. We just played at Highbury. We drew 2-2 and or 1-1. We played. I think we drew 2 at West Ham the day before. So we played 3 games in 4 days on very bad pitches, and my ankle couldn't take the hard pitches and stuff like that. And I was just. I wouldn't say I was in pain with my ankle. I just knew if I'd have played on the Monday, it would have just done more damage. It was untreatable. And because I'd been playing all the time, the doctors at Stoke weren't that good. I mean, our doctor was a gynecologist, so that just tells you about what he knew about ankles and knees. And then when confronting Tony, I said, "Look, Tony," I said. I spoke to him like I spoke to my dad and my best friend. I said, look, I think Monday's going to be out for me. It's heartbreaking, but, it's really today they call it, was it 2 points a win then?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, today they call it a 6-pointer, but in them days, I mean, it was a difference between us going on and winning the league or Liverpool going on to win it, really, because I truly believe when you mention our team, read our team out, and then you read the Liverpool team out, you wouldn't think that we could actually win the league. They had so many big name players and internationals or whatever. It just goes to show after doing a show with Dennis Mortimer, who you put me onto the other day, that they won the European Cup with no internationals in their team. But I remember Tony's words to me were, look, when we get back, go into the hotel opposite, which we always did, the North Stars, right opposite the station, and we'll have he said, we'll have a couple of drinks and we'll talk it over. So him and I got into the discussion, and he said, look, please do me one favour. He never used to ask me to do anything, and he said, look, when this bar closes, please go home. Don't go to a nightclub standing about on your ankle. Don't don't go out tomorrow, Sunday, and have a drink down your local. Stay in and prepare for the game on Monday, because I've got a funny feeling we're going to have some rain, and I think the ground will be all right for you. Anyway, I knew what he was on about, because before that he told me stories about how he used to talk to Stanley Matthews into playing when he wasn't fit. But Stanley was 50. Yeah. I was 24. Anyway, I woke up on the Sunday and I went down. I looked outside and we still had the drought on. I knew that we had no rain, and on the Monday I woke up for the game knowing I wasn't playing because we still had no rain. I got dressed. I prepared just as if I was playing, but knowing I wasn't, which was even more heartbreaking. And got in my car, drove down the A34, and all the way thinking, how am I going to sit through this match? That's all on my mind. I'm going to have to leave. If Liverpool go 1-0 up, I'm just going to have to leave, get in my car and come home, because it was that vital a match. And I got to as at Stoke City, there was there was no dress code. There was no, Tony did things so differently. There was no team meetings before the game. There was nothing. You just turned up by 2:15 for a 3 o'clock kickoff and get on with it. And I got there about 2:10 as usual, signed the autographs outside the ground, only a handful of people, and walked through, really despondent, and walked straight into the dressing room, which it was a very tiny corridor. The Stoke City ground was very small, and I walked in there and I see my boots there sparkling and my shirt hanging up and a couple of other players. But I was quite ignorant about who was in the dressing room, and I just turned around and thought I'd walk in to see Tony and say to him, like, you tried this with Stan, it might have worked with Stan, but it's not going to work with me, because I'm not going to play against Liverpool, play badly, and we get beat because of my ankle. It was that bad. And I got towards his door, and as I got towards his door, something kind of clicked in my mind, and I turned back. And I walked down the tunnel, and as I walked down the tunnel, 3 or 4 of the Liverpool players were coming up with mud on their shoes. And they said, I can remember someone, I don't know if it was Clements or one of them said to me, they called me Huddy. They went, Huddy, what's going on? We only live along the road. It took us 45 minutes to get here. It was Easter Monday, and we haven't had rain for... There's a drought. We haven't had rain for weeks. And I just turned around and said, look, what you don't understand, the Potteries is a strange. We got our own weather. We got our own drizzle. We got our own weather up here. I said, I haven't even been on the pitch. I was just going to have a look, and I'm delighted to say that you've got mud on them. And I turned around, walked away, and walked into Tony's office, and he just picked his head up from what he was doing, and he didn't show any emotion, nothing, which was incredible. It was like a movie scene, and he just said to me, how many? So I said, well, they're on their way, Tone. I said, you better give me 14. So he gave me 14 complimentary tickets, as he always did. He knew all my family and friends coming up from London every home game, every away game. He gave me my tickets, and I just walked out, and he never said nothing. There was no mention of the pitch. There's no mention of me playing or not playing. He was like, he was the opposite of Clouseau, Yeah. He was so smart. And I just walked in, and I went from 0 to off the scale. I was just in heaven, because I played well in London, them 2 matches. We played well. We were playing well as a team. And I was sure we could beat Liverpool if I played. And I just got ready for the game, warmed up, and the adrenaline got me through it. And the pitch was heavy. And I remember at one stage we were 1-0 up, and the ball was running towards the touchline and towards the director's box where Tony was, and my family used to sit there. And I remember nutmegging Tommy Smith along the way. Tommy came in with a sliding tackle to get me. Yeah. But he not to injure me, but to get me to to stop me, and I just flicked it through his legs as he went down and ran away the other side. And my uncle had this habit of whistling, and I heard my uncle's whistle of approval, and it was, there was absolutely nothing there. When the roof blew off, the roof had to blow off that day to stop us winning. Yeah. We were absolutely superb, and I'm not just talking. I mean, my performance was the best of my life, but I'm sure other players enjoyed my performance. But every man. I mean, to beat that Liverpool team without the names you mentioned, with young Danny Bowers left back. Danny had only played a handful of games. He had a great potential. If the roof hadn't blown off, he would have been our next left back. Eric Skills, nobody knew how old he was. He didn't have a passport. And Alan Dodd obviously was my favourite centre half of all time. He's the best centre half I've ever played with, and like Greenough, uncapped. So it was an incredible. And when Shankly came in the dressing room, I just couldn't wait, because he spoke to me in front of several players in the dressing room that you might say weren't fans of mine.
I mean, what he did say is, I didn't think I'd ever see a performance that surpasses Peter Doherty, but you just did it, son. I mean, that was one of the greatest performances that Bill Shankly had seen. You mentioned and referenced the Butler Street stand that did blow off. In Block D that day, have a guess how much the admission fee was?
To Bob.
£1.10. The programme with Jimmy Greenough on the front of it was 10 pence that day.
No, I've got it in my cabinet behind me, Paul.
Have you really? And a match report by David Gray, writing for The Guardian, said Liverpool feared Hudson's wit and imagination.
Yeah, well, this is something that you and I have had several conversations about. I've just kind of left my seat, and I've just picked up a book that I'm reading at the moment. It is Andre Pirlo.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And at the top of the book, I've read this book before, but I'm rereading it. And I showed my friend yesterday, and I said, have a look at the top of this book, and it's got Andrew Pirlo with Alexander Alciato. But on the top of the book, it says, I think, therefore I play.
Yep.
And what a wonderful way to tell anybody or any young kid or whatever that thinking is the most important part of football.
Yeah.
There's the thought that goes into a match, and he thought before matches, and I wasn't. Had I been Italian, I think I would have been somewhere up there near Pirlo. But he was a player that could have. I don't think he could have put on a performance like I did on that day, because he never had the kind of running power that I had. He was more of a kind of a technician who played the game. I slowed the game down to my pace, but he did it to the ultimate. I mean, he was the ultimate midfield player, but I don't think he would have got away with it in England because of the coaching side of it, the aspect of it,
Now, you'd beaten Liverpool 2-0, and you did mention that it would have been a 6-pointer day. It was a 4-pointer back in them days. Of course, it was 2 points for a win. Everton went top after that game, played 37 and got 46 points. Liverpool had been knocked off the top by you guys at 38 and 45 points. And you were equal on points to Liverpool, lying in third place on 45 points by playing 38 games. You had been top a few times that season. It was nip and tuck. And you famously said that we need 8 more wins and we've got the title. Sadly, you only picked up 4 of those 8 wins in the running, and you just fell short a little bit by 4 points, Huddy. Derby eventually ran out winners, which you'd beaten in March, on the 15th of March, after your brilliant performance against West Germany. They finished on 53 points. Ipswich Town come second on 51, Liverpool on 51, Everton on 50, and Stoke City on 49, followed by Sheffield United, and you got beat 2-0 by a Tony Curry influence performance, who done a double bow that day when they ran out 2-0 winners. So it was a case of if only, wasn't it, for that season? But you were the best football team of that season, and Tony Waddington got you guys playing total football, didn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, undoubtedly, I mean, I can only go by the way I feel, and I can only go by, I'd experienced playing for Chelsea in 70 when we won the Cup, and 71 when we won the Cup Winners' Cup. We had we wasn't the best team in the country. Everton proved that in 70, but the difference between us and Everton was we were a better team than Everton that year, but they had Alan Ball.
Yep.
He was the difference. He won them the league that year. And Joe Raw might argue that he scored a lot of goals, but Harvey and Kendall would say that Alan Ball was the greatest player they've ever seen, I'm sure. So I'd experienced playing at that level and never come close to winning a championship. And although we never spoke about, we never at Stoke ever. I was listening to somebody on TV the other night talking about, winning the league. Do you speak about it? Talking to a present day player. And I said, well, of course we don't speak about it. Well, we never spoke about it. Nobody ever spoke about winning anything. You just got on with the next game. And I never even thought about winning. I never thought this was a league winning team. The only time I thought that we had a chance to win the league, and my father said it to me, it was when Peter Shilton made his debut for us, and he played it was at Wolves, and he put on some performance. It was his conditions. It was very muddy, and Wolves, we kind of soaked up the pressure, but they were getting a lot of shots in, and Peter was out of this world. And I remember him walking into the players' bar after, and my father said to me, this could be your year with him in goal.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he never kept them standards up.
Yeah, you disagreed a little bit with your father then, because you rarely did. But you believe that Farmer was at least as equal as Shilton. And you're right, in that season, he did make a couple of blips that ultimately did cost you. Also, what cost you was the 0-0 draw away at Luton when you scored a goal that was cleared off the line, but you swear blind it was over, and so do many other players and fans that was there. And Sammy missed a penalty that day as well. So near, yet so far, wasn't it?
Oh, I'm a great believer in fate.
Yeah.
I think that was fate. I thought the referee's decision, if even the VAR would have given that one.
Yeah.
It was that far in, and I remember the fullback. I think the fullback went on to play for Tottenham, a big coloured fullback. It was a big boy, and he had long legs, and he scooped it out. He must have scooped it out, because when I turned away to celebrate the goal, there was no silly what they do today, these silly dances and all that. I just turned away, lifted my right arm as much as say, well, we won this game now. There's no way Luton were going to score 2 against us. And to my absolutely amazement, the game carried on. Yeah. And I couldn't believe it. I had ructions with the referee. I don't know why. The linesman never gave it. The referee never gave it. It was a yard in when I turned away. And anyhow, there things happened in that game. I remember walking off the pitch, and there was a policeman in the tunnel, and Luton fans spat in my face. Yeah. And I just was so annoyed. I just spat back at him. I know it's a terrible, terrible habit. And he screamed to the policeman, he spat at me, and the policeman went to grab hold of my arm. And I said, no. I said, it didn't happen that way. I just grabbed my arm off him. I said, and walked away. I said, look, you better throw that fella out, mate, because you don't go around doing that. I've done it in frustration. I shouldn't have done it. I said, but get on with it. And then obviously in the second half, I know he missed a penalty in the second half because it was up the other end. It was very unlike Jeff Salmons to miss a penalty. He was a great striker of the ball. He never missed penalties. But that day, it just wasn't to be. And that, as you say, I mean, it was only the 1 point, but I think it had more of a psychological effect on us than anything else. Other teams must have looked at the result and said, "Oh, Stoke might be cracking up here," you know. But we wasn't. We played outstanding on that day, but we just couldn't score. And we did score, and he disallowed it. And you know, what annoys me with the FA and FIFA and everything else, that things haven't changed.
Yeah.
In the refereeing department, and results, and this season as well is going to be decided by a referee and not a player.
Absolutely. What really probably, looking at the season as a whole now, was the defining, well, 3 games, a run of fixtures that you didn't grab any points from that ultimately cost you. And that was after the Birmingham City game where Jimmy scored 2 great goals and broke his nose. You then went away to Leeds United, got beat 3-1, played at home to Arsenal and got beat 2-0, which you had a magnificent unbeaten home run when you joined Stoke City. And then
how they won that day, I would never know. That was possibly our finest performance, apart from the Liverpool match. That was probably our finest performance of the season. Alan Ball played for them, and we absolutely tortured them.
Yeah.
And I remember it in the bar just after half time. I was good at hitting the bar, by the way. I can remember we actually absolutely dominated the game throughout and tortured us. But I think what happened with the Arsenal game, I think because the boys before me, the older generation, they had them 2 semi-finals with Arsenal when they were cheated out of one. They were definitely cheated out of one by a referee again, who played 7 minutes overtime and give a dodgy free kick and corner or whatever. That they were cheated that day, and they still feel cheated, and rightly so. So Arsenal are kind of had the voodoo over Stoke. On that day, it proved to be right again. We absolutely murdered them. I think they had 2 shots.
It's quite incredible. And then away at Coventry in the game that Jimmy Robertson broke his leg, he got beat 2-0. So you lost 3 back-to-back results. So even 2 points from those games, or a win and a point, would have took you over the line. You've said to me, because you joined Stoke City in January 1974, and they had a bad start and got into Europe that season. The season after, you almost won the league. Had Peter Osgood have joined you at Stoke City and given you that extra goal power, I think that you would have won the league, I think, back to back, and records would kind of stack up that Stoke City, I think, would have won at least 1 league title. Is if you look at your 42 games, the first 42 games that Alan Hudson played, you won 19, drew 14, lost 9, you would have had 52 points, and Derby County won that season on 53 points. Again, so close, fine margins, and if onlys.
Yeah, but that's the game of football.
Absolutely.
I'm sure every player and every fan, everyone has a story of where it all went wrong or what might have been. But when you're involved in that kind of, I didn't know. I'd heard all these stories about 4 broken legs in one season, and I didn't really take much notice of it.
Yeah.
I was too wrapped up in how I was doing, because from the moment I set foot in the Potteries and met Tony and played for Tony, I played for Tony, and then I played for the fans, and before that I played for myself and my family. But I didn't really play for Stoke City, the football club. My love for Stoke City, the football club, would mean that I would have some kind of connection to the directors and everybody else. Well, there was no. The chairman was a nice man, Mr. Henschel. He was Tony's ally. He was his. But in the end, they stopped Tony, and so I was too wrapped up. I was also banned from England at that time, so I put all my eggs in one basket, and I thought, look, well, now you're not going to ever get picked for England again. You have to just, and I think Tony loved that part of it. He wanted me to play for England because I was like a son to him, and he knew I deserved it. But he was happy, more than happy that I did it my way, and I just played for Stoke City that year. So I had absolutely no where some players would think, oh, I can't get injured this week. And, there's an international in the week and I want to be there. They kind of play. They put more. I know some players preferred playing for their country. They did their club, but not me. I played for Waddington.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to put the case there, Al, that how close Stoke City were, because sometimes we just look at the winners, who won the league, who won the game, but there's fine margins, and you've identified a number of games, we both have identified a number of games that if it had turned out another way, Stoke could have turned out champions of England for the first time in their history. And to top it all, you were voted in the PFA Team of the Year. You were 2 seasons on the spin whilst at Stoke City. Tony Waddington and the press, I suppose through the pressure, Don Revie picked you to play for England, sadly only twice in 1975, and you were 3rd in the Football Writers Player of the Year awards that season as well.
Paul, what I don't understand about the Football Writers is in 1970, in my first season in the game, I was runner-up to Billy Bremner.
Yep.
Peter Osgood scored about 40 goals that year. Peter Osgood should have been Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 2nd to Billy Bremner, and I weren't even Chelsea's Player of the Year. John Hollins got that, and Peter Osgood was 2nd, and I think I was 3rd. So polls mean nothing.
Yeah.
And if I was 2nd in 1970, I must surely have won Football of the Year in 1975. There was only, you mentioned earlier on that Tony Curry put the dagger in our back at Sheffield. I think he was magnificent that day, as only he can play. And I think in 1975 I should have been Footballer of the Year, no doubt. I mean, the year before at Chelsea, I should have been thrown in the Thames for the way I was playing. So I'm no dreamer when it comes to. Yep. I am my biggest critic. But I can tell you when I played well and when I didn't. But I'm also very good at having a bad memory when it comes to bad games.
Uddy, you have a wonderful memory of games, and it's been a tremendous trip down memory lane, sir. So can I thank you very much? And finally, I
think, Paul, I think you should thank the fire brigade, not me.
I think we'll go out with Roy Wood and Wizard. Although it wasn't Wizard in them days, it was the move, wasn't it? The Fire Brigade, of course.
Yeah, that would be a great one to open the show, yeah.
Was that your finest game of your career, Alan? Because we're going to revisit a few iconic games that you played in, but if it's not the top one, it must be near the top, surely.
Yeah, without a doubt. I was... it was kind of, apart from me saving 3 penalties and scoring 3 goals, it was a perfect performance from a number. They call it a number 10 today, which I don't agree with why they call it number 10 today. I don't even understand it. But I believe that number 10, as I said, Perlo, all the great inside forwards wore number 10, and I think it was a great. It was a perfect performance, and as Bill Shankly doesn't go into the away team dressing room, although he wasn't manager, but he was still Mr. Liverpool.
Yep.
And I think that shows just not my performance, but it just shows what kind of man Bill Shankly was. For once, he probably the pressure was off him, and to see a performance like that reminded him of his all-time favourite player, which was Peter Doherty. And I'd never seen Peter Doherty play. My father did. And when I told my father, he said, yeah, it was some footballer. But only Bill Shankly knew how good Peter Doherty was because he played with him at Preston. So yes, there's no doubt. I mean, even going back to my school days, when I was, kids tell me that I was head and shoulders above them at school, and however good I was at school, I could never, ever imagine that I could play that well in 90 minutes, considering I wasn't playing 2 hours before the kickoff.
Absolutely. Al, what a joy. Those were the days, my friend.
Oh, yes, but they never end. They just keep on haunting us, don't they?
Of course.
If we didn't get the 4 broken legs, who knows?
Absolutely. Yeah. Cheers, pal. Till next time. Catch you later. Cheers, Al.
Thanks for the memories.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, Al.
Fire brigade, get the fire brigade. See the building start to really burn. Get the fire brigade, get the fire brigade. If you jump, you got to wait your turn. Friends all seem to laugh. I feel I have to make a compromise. Try to reassure myself. My head must need some exercise.
Hi, I'm Daniel, founder of Pretty Litter. Cats and cat owners deserve better than any old-fashioned litter. That's why I teamed up with scientists and veterinarians to create Pretty Litter. Its innovative crystal formula has superior odor control and weighs up to 80% less than clay litter. Pretty Litter even monitors health by changing colors to help detect early signs of potential illness. It's the world's smartest kitty litter.
Go to prettylitter.com and use code ACAST for 20% off your first order and a free cat toy. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details.